Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to Beyond the Surface, where the saying to be seen is to be understood comes to life. I want to begin by first honouring the traditional custodians of the land we live and work on. I live and work on Gundungurra land and acknowledge the traditional landowners of my guests near and far. I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the memories, the traditions and cultures of our First Nations peoples. The land below my feet is, was and always will be Aboriginal land. I am no stranger to the profound journey of pain, grief, anger and heartbreak that often accompanies the loss of church, community, faith and the unwinding of our core beliefs. In the midst of this labyrinth, I found healing in the stories shared by others who have walked a similar path. Each tale, unique in its own right, weaves an invisible thread of connection, uniting us through the tapestry of religious trauma and healing. Here, in the warmth of these digital walls, I want you to feel at home. This is a haven where your memories are not just acknowledged, but deeply seen and believed. So kick back, relax, and let's embark on a journey where your story is not just heard, but embraced. Welcome to a community where storytelling is a powerful force. This is Beyond the Surface. Welcome, Hannah. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
People will be able to detect the distinct accents between us. Whereabouts in the world are you?
I am over in America, over in South Carolina, over in Columbia. That's where I'm
Nice.
at.
Okay. Whereabouts, for people who don't know the US, whereabouts is that?
Um, so if you're looking at the map on America, I guess I'm on the right side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just below if you're looking at Virginia, if you go down to North Carolina, South Carolina will be right under that. If
Right.
that's helpful
Okay.
for anyone out there. I don't know how to describe that
Oh,
any
okay.
other way.
I think a lot of people in Australia tend to notice where things are in the US by the color state that you are in terms of
Oh, I don't know what color is.
like political landscape, things like that.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm not sure whether that's something that you are aware of or anything like that.
My guess, and I haven't looked lately, is it's probably red.
Okay.
I'm assuming South Carolina is probably um mostly Republican because
Hmm.
it is like a Bible Belt kind of a
Yes.
state. So
Yeah.
that's my guess. Um, Feel free to someone can fact check me if they want, but that's my guess. We're red.
Uh, yes, okay. I was wondering whether it was sort of considered part of that Bible Belt section because
Yeah.
I do know that Virginia is. So I was like, when you sort of mentioned that it's near there, I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's what's happening.
Yeah. My guess is it's mostly Republican.
Right. Okay. So I have been starting these episodes with the same question for everybody, which is where does your story start? Which I know is a very vague, very big question.
It is. Well, I guess for me, it's like my story start from where I started deconstructing, or from like when I was whenever I remember becoming a Christian or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know which place to start at. I guess I can give like an overview of all that.
Yeah.
Um, so when I was little, um, I have like a vague memory. I don't know how old I was exactly. I just somewhat remember saying like the prayer of salvation at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if I think when I was like a preteen going into being a teenager is when I probably started really getting into like church more and being more involved. Um, and like being involved with at a younger age, like the dance ministry team. And then later on, I got involved with the worship team for like youth group stuff. And then later, like for adult church. Um, so I guess that's kind of where it all started. And then as far as like timeline and like years go, I don't know. I was born in 94. So let's just say 5 years later or 6 years later, and somewhere in 2000 on is probably when I was said this salvation prayer, I'm guessing. And then it continued on up until, gosh, 20 something.
Okay.
Because I'm 29 now. And when I started deconstructing actually right around the time we moved from Virginia to South Carolina where I live now. So yeah, so I would say I was probably I'd say 27, 28 when I started to deconstruct a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, I would say maybe for a good 27 years. I was in the church, like always involved somehow,
Mm-hmm.
going to church every single Sunday and then like Wednesday nights or whatever it was, and then whatever other church events they had throughout the week. I was mostly all the time there. But yeah, so I'd say for probably maybe 25 years because I think when I was 25 through 27, like I don't remember going to I mean, I still went to church, but I feel like there was some of my beliefs had changed and shifted a little bit. Like I think somewhere in there I started believing that like sex before marriage was okay because for the longest time I thought it was like not okay,
Mm.
and then if you did you'd like go to hell or that was just like a big no-no.
The
um
the fun
and
ramifications of purity culture, hey.
oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
um that yeah, purity culture, I feel like even today, um not that I wear like provocative clothing, but even if I'm just wearing like shorts and a tank top like
Mm.
in the summertime, sometimes I feel I'm like kind of self-conscious a little
Yeah.
bit from all of that. I'm like, oh my God. Like if someone gonna look at me, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's also just normal clothing that is not nothing's wrong with it.
Mm.
So it's just crazy how even though mentally, like you're like, okay, it's fine. I feel comfortable in this outfit. I look good, whatever. It's like your body still feels otherwise.
Yeah.
And that has been like one of the biggest things. I feel like even though like mentally there's a lot that I have processed, but there's still a lot that my body hasn't, I guess, caught up to and still holds on to some stuff.
Yeah.
So that's crazy
My I have
to
a
think
I have a
about.
friend who is also
Oh,
another religious trauma therapist, and she only described it yesterday when we were having like a chat, that religious trauma and deconstruction is a little bit like playing the whack-a-mole game because things just pop up wherever, and that you
uh,
sometimes have no warning. You thought you got rid of it, and then it comes back up again. And I find the effects of purity culture is one of those things. They just sort of rear
It
their ugly head every now and then.
That is so true. I've never thought about it like that, but that is
Yeah.
absolutely what it's like.
Mm.
Um, so that's kind of like, I guess, my story and whatnot, like in a little
Hmm.
nutshell, just kind of an overview. Um, so is
Did
there,
you grow up in church? Was your family
yes.
religious? Okay.
Yep, I grew up in the church. Um, was practically born into it. I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure I was. I don't know if the church I went to still does this, but they would do I don't know what it was called, but basically you and your family would like go up on the stage in front of the congregation, and I guess they would like say a prayer and like bless you into the church or something. I don't know what that is called. And then the little kid, I think they would give you like a little tiny little Bible.
Hmm.
Um,
It
and
almost sounds like the equivalent of like a baby dedication, but a family
yeah,
dedication.
yeah. So I'm sure I probably did that. I don't
Mm.
remember it, but I feel like that probably did happen. So but yeah, I grew up in the church. So I just that's what I knew. And
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
just always did it because it was like every Sunday, it was like routine, wake up at whatever time so that you can have time to get ready, have breakfast, and then head off to church.
Mm.
Um, and I remember, I think for the most part, I'm sure I liked it as a kid because all I knew was I could go to church, I'm gonna see my
Yeah.
friends, and kids' church was fun because my friends were there. And not that it was like never not fun, but I do know at some point, like when I was probably a young adult, being like involved with the youth group activities, doing like the youth leader stuff and worship team. I enjoyed that, but I remember there were times where I just felt so tired and exhausted, but I I felt that if I like didn't show up, I don't know, I would feel so guilty about it. Um, so yeah, even if I was just like tired and didn't want to go to like the worship practice nights for Sunday, still did that. And like even though these were all like volunteer positions, I feel like we still should have been compensated in some kind of way.
Yeah,
Um, and pizza just doesn't cut it. It doesn't cover gas money
yeah,
to and
yeah.
from. So I think that should have been offered to
Mm.
everybody, regardless if you were like a main worship leader or not, or whatever
Yeah,
your role was in the youth group. I feel like there should have been like, hey, we're gonna offer compensation because they could probably afford it.
yeah.
To be honest, if
There,
everyone's given their tithe money,
yeah.
I'm sure they could afford it.
And there
Even if it
is
was like minimum wage. Something.
absolutely, I mean, gift cards, even like,
Yeah.
even
Right?
like there is this sort of notion that because you're doing it for the Lord, that you need to do it for free. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, why do those two things need to go together? I'm still using time, I'm still using my money, my energy, but it's almost that that level of exhaustion is just a sign that you're giving your all to God. And
Yeah.
it's like hustle culture, but for the church.
Yeah. It is. It seriously is. I definitely don't hustle now.
Yeah.
Like Sundays, it's just been nice not to
Mm,
get up and rush anywhere like that in the morning. Um, I think I will probably forever enjoy that. I don't know if there's
mm,
a future Sunday that will go by where I'm not feeling thankful for the extra rest and just the chill. Because for 20 something years of my life, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It is like hustle culture except for the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insane. It's just the amount of brainwashing
Mm,
that I've learned about now that I didn't know then is insanity to me because I'm like, how did I not see all this before? And I think about like grown adults who are still Christians and are in the church. I think about them and I'm like, how are you a full-on adult and don't see certain things going on? And
mm,
like I get it and like I understand, but at the same time, I'm like, don't it's right there.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't like discredit people for wanting to go to church, and sticking with their belief system if they want, as long as they don't push it on to me,
Hmm.
or I'm good.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. Like I was taught that I needed to basically convert people into being a Christian.
Savior
That's another
complex.
thing. Yes, which I'm still trying to also heal
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Um, and
You
yeah,
just
that
you
was one
just
of the
become
most
a therapist like me, because then you just pour all of that energy into a different direction.
yeah. But the pressure to feel like you had to like save the entire world and let the whole world know about Jesus was I didn't need that. Like,
Yeah.
no, that should never have been put on my shoulders, especially as like a little teenager and whatnot. I don't think that really should be on anybody's shoulders, to be
Yeah.
honest. And you mentioned like the savior complex. Um, that is something that I still like feel inside me sometimes, and I'm trying to like set personal boundaries for myself. Like I don't know if it's a savior complex or if I'm just genuinely having sympathy for other people, but I genuinely wish I could help all my friends with their
Mm,
situations and things that they're going through. Wish I could fix it.
yeah.
Sometimes I wish, like, because I don't believe prayer really works the way it says it does. I wish that prayer did work for
Mm,
people. Because I have a friend, she's chronically ill. I wish prayer could
yeah.
heal her and you know that kind of thing. I always wish there was something that I could do to make all their problems go away, but I
Mm,
have to remind myself that's not my job.
yeah.
I can be there for them, but I can't make their problems go away, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
that. I hate
Yeah.
watching like people I care about go through things and have to suffer through it, and I have to watch. I
Mm,
hate not being able to like do something or think that if I pray, that's gonna work.
mm,
Yeah, I personally believe I don't think it does anything because I know people are out there still praying, and I don't see anything happening with those prayers. So I've given up on that.
yeah.
But yeah, so as far as like the savior complex goes, I still wish that I could, I guess, basically be the almighty power and just
Mm,
like
yeah.
sprinkle magic on people and be like, here you go, it's all fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm still trying to work on. Because it does come up a lot since it's December now, Christmas at the end of the month.
Mm,
So sometimes I feel like I'm feeling extra, I don't know. I don't know if emotional is the right word for that, but like it's Christmas. Well, I feel like I should help people, especially during this time. That's probably something that I was also taught, like, because it's the season to give and
give.
bless
Yeah.
people. Yeah. So,
I think Christmas and Easter in general are pretty difficult times of the year for those who are deconstructing or who have left their faith or left the church, because they provide so many memories of what that time was like when you were a part of the church. And so I think that December and April are sort of the months of the year where everything seems to, it's like stirring everything up again at times.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I know for me, currently, I'm not talking to my parents.
Okay.
So that that is hard.
Yeah.
Um, I
That's hard
will
any
be,
month of the year.
yeah, especially around holidays though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very difficult. I'm gonna reconnect with them in February and see how that goes. But especially for like holidays, it's part of me is like, I just gotta get through it, but also I want to enjoy the holidays too at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that I feel like that was another thing that as far as like family goes and mix it in like with religion, it was like there was like this, I don't know if it was like unspoken or unspoken and also like preached that you always have to like be a family, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you always have to like forgive each other and love each other and accept each other, which is great, but also I feel like the part where people take accountability or responsibility, I don't know which word is better, but to do that, like if someone is saying, "Hey, you hurt me in this way," that
Mm.
person should like take responsibility for accountability, say sorry, but also don't do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like those messages weren't taught very much at all at church, because it's all about, forgiving and
Mm.
forgetting because that's what Jesus would do or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not how that works. But
And
okay.
also, I'm not Jesus last time I checked.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, and the pressure to be like Jesus,
Mm.
which I don't know if anyone really knows who he was. I feel like a lot of people can have their own opinions and ideas. Even like historians who do their own research and digging, I don't even know if they know 100%. They kind of go with like the facts and whatnot. So, yeah, I don't think that was fair either for me to
Mm.
feel like I had to be perfect all
Yeah.
the time because Jesus was supposedly perfect. And so we need to be like that. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Ah.
It's almost a
Mm-mm.
system that's like setting you up to fail
No,
automatically.
it is.
Yeah.
I agree with that
Yeah.
100% because no one's perfect.
Yeah.
Uh, and I can remember so many times where, if I like made a mistake or whatnot, I would always feel so bad. And
Mm.
I don't think I didn't need to feel as bad as I did
Yeah.
over whatever it was. There were some things where I can remember I would be like crying my eyeballs out in my bedroom, just like saying I'm so sorry to God and just apologizing over and over in some kind of prayer until like I felt the prayer was good enough to end it. Um, so yeah,
Mm.
definitely I think it is a system to like set you up to fail pretty
Yeah.
much so that you're in this constant like cycle of mistake, pray. It's just like you never
Yeah.
get out of this loop because you're just constantly thinking you have to be perfect. And then when you're not
Mm.
doing or if you're not acting in the way you think you're supposed to, then it's like, oh my God, if I don't apologize right now, I'm gonna go to hell or lose my salvation or something. Um,
It's
it
just
was
constant cycle of striving to reach an unattainable target and then a
Yeah.
cycle of guilt and shame.
Yeah, it was awful. There was a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety back then. And I don't even know if I really knew that at
Mm.
that point in time either. I just thought it was like, oh, it's the devil's trying to get me down. It's just
Spiritual
Satan trying
warfare.
to yeah, spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's Satan getting his foot in the door over here. And so, the church, they're like, oh, just pray it away. Pray
Mm.
away the depression, pray away the anxiety. And that's how you dealt with that.
Yeah.
No one said, hey, maybe you should look into therapy. That no one like I feel like if someone did say that, it was like, oh my gosh, something must be so wrong with you. You're seeing a
Mm.
therapist. I don't know. That's the vibe I got. Like therapy was like for bad people or
Yeah.
something. Um, so I don't know where I was going with that, but there there was just a lot I look back on and I'm like, I probably did have anxiety back
Yeah.
then. I've never been like clinically diagnosed with depression, but I'm sure there were times where I had like ups and downs of some depression somewhere in there. Um, because I never really dealt with things. I
Yeah.
just prayed it away or whatever until I felt bad, which really I wasn't praying anything away.
Yeah.
Um, that's just what they teach you to do because
Mm.
it's Satan or whatever. It's the demons or something. And it's just,
Yeah.
ugh, it's insanity.
Was there a moment where things shifted for you, or was that quite a gradual process?
Like coming out of uh
Yeah.
my faith. Um, I think I I think at first my bubble had been popped. Um, so on my Instagram, I think I mentioned it in my very first post how actually my partner kind of called me out. I don't know what we were talking about that led up to this, but he made the statement that he didn't think I was a Christian anymore. I
Mm.
think we were on the topic. I feel like I said something like, I don't even really think I'm a Christian anymore, or I wouldn't even call myself that or something. And then I think he basically confirmed that. He was like, yeah, I don't think you are either. And I think from there I started really thinking about that.
Mm.
Um And I'd have to look in my journal because I know I wrote it down on this day. This is when I left the faith or something. I feel like it was December or somewhere near the end of the year. I can't remember when exactly right now. Um, but that's when I really started making the shift. Um, and I probably did start on, I don't know where I started. I don't know if it started on Instagram where I started finding like accounts,
Mm.
um, or if I like Googled or, I don't remember where I started to like find other people in this community who were like talking about this. Um, but at first I I didn't want to say I was a Christian anymore, but I think I said because I remember telling one of my my best friend's name is also Hannah. So I think I remember talking to her about it. And I just kind of considered myself at that point in time to be spiritual.
Mhm.
Um, because I knew that I wasn't what a Christian was anymore. I
Yeah.
knew that. And I think at that point in time, I still might have believed in like a God or higher power of some sort. Um, I hadn't really touched that too much. So at first I was just like, I'm just gonna be spiritual and see where this goes. And then the more I was learning and deconstructing, because I already knew what atheists were, um, but I was like, I don't know if I'm quite there yet.
Mm.
So I then found I don't know how I found it, but I think I looked up what an agnostics were or found that definition. And I was at some point in time, I was like, I think this kind of suits me. Because I still to this day I call myself now like an agnostic atheist,
Mhm.
because I don't know for sure personally if there's like a higher power or being out there or not. Um, so that's where the agnostic side of me comes in to play because I don't know one way or the other.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have my thoughts and my, beliefs about that, but I don't know for sure.
Mm.
Um, so that was like a long-winded answer to your question.
No, I love long-winded answers.
Okay.
That's okay.
But yeah, that's kind of where the shift took place. I guess me just stating, well, I don't even know if I am anymore, and him going, I could have told you that too. So he's never wanted to, push anything on me. I think he's always wanted me to be able to like get my own conclusion and opinion on something
Yeah.
because he knew like for so long I have just believed, something else for so
Mm.
long. And I don't think he's ever tried to convince me one way or the other of any other beliefs out there. He's always just let me come to my own conclusion on that, which I appreciate. um, so I'm really thankful. Because I don't if we hadn't really had that conversation, I don't know if I would have even thought about
Mm.
deconstructing the faith and questioning things and looking at things from like an outside view or not. Um, but yeah, but that's where I am now. I'd say like an agnostic atheist.
Mm.
Um, which I used to think atheists were like these terrible bad people. So it's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Because they're just people who aren't Christians. They just don't believe in a higher power. It doesn't make them bad people. They
Mm.
just don't believe. They're just not Christians.
Yeah.
Um, and we don't think that we have to convert other people. That's
Yes.
really it.
Yeah.
So I just think it's funny because I have a cousin, he's like much older, but he's an atheist, and I think he's been an atheist for probably quite a while. But I remember like in my own time, I think I would like pray for him.
Yeah.
He would like
I
come to know the Lord and whatnot.
absolutely.
Um,
I think I used
obviously,
to think that atheists were people who had a hardened heart was probably the language that I would have
yeah.
used. And so there would be prayers about softening their heart or cracking that open and
Oh,
all of that sort of language that basically at its essence was rooted in, I thought, that their version of who they were was not good enough. And that's a pretty messed up way of thinking, really. Um,
yeah.
but I know and I feel like I can say this because I also I sort of describe myself as I was an all or nothing black and white sort of Christian. And I feel like I can say this because I was intense. Um, but I know from your Instagram that periodically you share Facebook posts that you used to have written. And I feel like I can bring it up because I used to also do the same thing.
Yeah.
But you were an all in, very much, intense on fire for God Christian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I Facebook memory. I have mixed feelings about those things.
Yeah. What is it like
Well,
reliving
time.
those posts?
They're cringy. They're so cringy. Oh my God. Like, I can understand why some people just like didn't like me or pretended to like me or
Yes.
I don't know what. I get it
Yeah.
now. I was very annoying.
Mm,
But oh my God, yeah. So the it's man, yeah, I'm at loss for words right now.
mm,
Just thinking of all the things I used to post on Facebook. I was just very what you'd call like on fire for God.
mm,
And I'd always like post like a Bible verse and like say something about it. Or, if something happened at work, I would somehow tie that into my faith and put
mm,
that out there on Facebook. Or, I did like I call it like Facebook praying. Like you put a prayer out there on Facebook and like
mm.
think that does something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but now when I look at those things, I'm just like, oh goodness gracious. Who is that? Who is that person?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. And I just feel not ashamed, just a little embarrassed. But I like to share those with people online just so they know and understand that I'm coming from a place of, hey, this used to be me, and
Mm,
I'm not, talking smack out here on the internet.
yeah.
I used to be a believer, I used
Mm,
to do all the things, and I've come out of that, and I cringe
yeah.
at what I used to put out there. And of course, at the time I had other friends who were also believers, and so they would always be like, "Oh, amen. Yes,
Hmm.
this is great. Thanks for sharing this." And yeah, what a time.
Yeah, I know. I remember
Ah,
thinking, um, social media used to just be like another form of evangelism almost. Like, I remember sharing, I actually sent it to a friend not too long ago, those posts that would be like, every time you open your Bible, Satan gets a punch or, takes a hit. And like if you share this post, publicly, is another
wow.
way of, sucker punching Satan, basically. And it's like, all I did was click a button. That's realistically all I did. But there is a real part of you that thinks, yeah, but what if somebody sees that post and that prompts them to think about their eternity and their salvation and all of those big questions that you are so desperate for people to think about at that time. It's just another form of ministry. That's how I used to see
Yeah.
it.
No, you're right. Um, I I think there was like a Facebook memory that popped up, and it was some video that I had made. Um, and the theme was, I don't even know what I titled it, but it was like I think I was talking about um people posting things that say like this post if you love Jesus, stuff
Yes.
like that. And that's like a guilt trip, because if
Yeah,
you don't click like, then maybe that means you don't love Jesus and you're going to hurt his
exactly.
feelings because you didn't click the like button or you didn't share it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just a really manipulative and sneaky way to get like your content shared and to get
Yeah.
views and all the likes and stuff like that. It's like, if you're not clicking this like button, then I guess you don't love God.
Mm-hmm.
Just how you were talking
Yeah.
about, it's such a crazy crazy, I don't know, system, I
Yeah.
guess. It
Yeah.
works. It works on people, especially
Absolutely.
like if you're really young
Yeah.
and vulnerable like that. It's got like a chokehold on you,
Yeah.
because it did on me.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm pretty sure that I like reposted and shared things
Mm.
to, make sure people knew that I loved Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Oh, go ahead. Were you
No,
gonna say something?
I was just gonna say, do you remember the movie God's Not Dead?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's the bit at the end of that movie where they're telling you to write that message, God's not dead, to everybody in your
Yep.
phone. And I remember thinking when that came out, oh, yeah, but I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. Just and so I remember just being so
Oh,
guilty that I didn't want to send this message. And I look back at that now and I go, that's really good marketing. Really, that's what it is. It's good
yeah.
marketing for the movie. But the guilt that and not just for me, but for quite a few members of the youth group that we were watching it with, that I was leading, were also feeling that same guilt. And it's like, it's just that vicious cycle where you can never do enough.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I have that is a really big thing that I have
Mm,
felt all throughout my life. Even now, sometimes I still catch myself feeling that way, like, ugh, I'm never gonna just be enough.
mm,
Because I was made to feel like I wasn't doing enough, like
yeah,
basically almost like half of my life, not half of it, but a good chunk of it, you feel that you're not doing enough, and
mm,
so you want to like make sure you're like doing enough in the church and even outside of the church. You just always got to be doing something for the Lord.
yeah.
And like if you're not, then you're like a slacker Christian or something, or you
Lukewarm.
know
Oh,
yeah, yeah, so that was also not fun.
yeah, yeah.
Not a fun time either.
And I think that from what I've found in, my work and in people that I talk to and on social media, is that the people who are deconstructing the hardest, who are having those deep sort of emotional turmoil coming out of the church, are the ones who were all in. Like, I think there's this sort of impression that the people who have left the church, oh, well, they weren't really a Christian anyway. And that
Yeah.
sort of suits that narrative for the church to sort of go, oh, well, you know, they didn't really know God, because if they did, they'd still be here. And I find that that's actually probably the opposite, because everybody who is deconstructing on a social media level were pretty all in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think I've had anybody tell me that
Mm,
personally, but I have seen other people have been like
yeah.
told that on their posts. People want to say, "Oh, well, you were never a true Christian, or you never really knew God." And it's like, well, that's rude
Yeah.
to say. Because that's basically invalidating the other person's experience, because yeah, you did feel like you did all the things, you really did feel like you did your best to try to be close to God, and you did your best trying to be close and you have a good relationship with him and all those things. And then when you're not doing those things anymore, for someone else to turn around and go, "Oh, well, you weren't really doing a good job, or you must have not been trying hard enough." It's like that's that's rude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without saying bad words, that's rude.
Yeah.
And just really, really inconsiderate. You know, you think that Christians would be the people who wouldn't judge and who wouldn't do those things, but
Yeah.
they're the very people, some of them, turning around and going, "Oh, well, you weren't trying hard enough, so you never really knew God since you're not in church anymore." And
Yeah.
people want to be sad about that, where, like I get it, but also it's like you're not them.
Mm,
Me not going to church anymore shouldn't really affect other people on such a larger scale like that.
yeah. Yeah.
It's not like it's not like me not going to church is gonna change their situation. They
Mm,
might, you know, maybe like feel bad or be sad, and in their mind they're probably thinking, oh, she's never gonna go to heaven now, or she's never gonna be know the Lord again, or whatever. I don't know. I'm just assuming they're having thoughts like that. But it shouldn't really affect them on like a large scale.
yeah.
Because it's my life and this is my choice, and the only thing it's gonna affect is me
Hmm.
and how I live my life. Um, so yeah, I think that's also it. I'm glad no one has told me, oh, well, you didn't try
Mm,
hard enough. I feel bad for other people who've been told that. Like that sucks. I hope no one comes at me and
yeah. Yeah.
says that, because I'm like, all right, let me just block you right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
What was the actual process of deconstructing for you like? Was it, what was some of those experiences?
Um, it it was, I don't know, it felt weird at first.
Mm,
Um, because I didn't want to have like nothing, I
yeah.
guess, if that makes sense. Because all my life I had something to hold on to and have hope in. And coming from that and just not having that felt really weird. And so I think at some point I was thinking, uh, what do I do now? Like, what do I believe? What do I not believe? I need something, because what I just had is like not here anymore.
Yeah.
So it was really weird. Um, I know for me at some point a lot of anger came up.
Mm,
Um, one of my friends, she was telling me you kind of go through the whole like cycle of grieving.
yeah.
Um, and
Absolutely.
you can go through it for a while. Try not to get stuck in it and like, take breaks and stuff, but you can go through it for a while. You can be good and then you'll be like sad again, and then you'll be angry and then you'll kind of mellow out and you'll be fine. And you do it all over again. And that's what I went through. Um, and I think the more I was going through feeling like sad and kind of, grieving all of that, the more I would feel angry though. And
Mm,
a lot of anger would come up because I would realize that I had been lied to
yeah.
about a lot of things. And that made me so mad. Because I know that I feel like a lot of my time was wasted, to be honest, and that a lot was kind of taken from me in a way. Like I don't think I had, like normal, not childhood, but maybe like normal experiences that you start going through as a teenager and onward. Um, there was just a lot that I felt was taken from me, and
Mm,
that has made me really mad. There's time that I will never get back.
yeah.
Um, which is, I hate that. Um, so I think the two biggest ones for me would be like sadness and anger.
Mm,
And also, I was taught that, anger was like a sin or something, or that you shouldn't be angry, and you can't be angry. And so now I have been kind of allowing myself to
mm,
actually be angry,
yeah.
even if I'm not like yelling and shouting. I'm still allowing those feelings to come up
Mm,
finally for air so that I can deal with it. And I think the biggest thing is just all that time being taken away that I will never be able to get back. And all the things that I believed about myself that aren't true,
mm,
like believing that I was like a sinner and like born bad, essentially. And so like for the longest time I still do. I wouldn't say I'm like this confident person. Um, but I believed that there was always something wrong with me.
Mm,
Always. It didn't matter if I was having the best day ever, like, but I was still a sinner, and I needed to be forgiven for something on like a daily basis, I think. And like believing that about yourself isn't, I don't think it's healthy.
no, not at
So
all.
you should be thinking like positive things about yourself, like understanding that you're going to make mistakes
Mm,
and you're not perfect, but also I think it's okay to be okay with that and like validate yourself and say, you know what? We didn't do this right today, but it's okay. Let's learn from this and let's do it differently next time.
mm.
And I wasn't really taught that. So yeah, it's been interesting because you feel different things at different times. There's a lot that I think that I've probably made peace with, but there's a lot that I don't know if I can ever really forgive, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Like forgiving, like you're just supposed to in the church. And
Mm-hmm,
now I'm learning I don't really have to forgive if I don't want to.
mm-hmm.
Um, which is I still kind of wrestle with that one sometimes. Because I think the part I wrestle with is you can choose like not to hold, like you can, I don't know how to explain this. You can not forgive, but that doesn't mean like it's a grudge
Yeah, yeah,
necessarily.
absolutely. I
Um,
tend to say to people, like releasing anger and bitterness and resentment does not demand forgiveness. You can
right.
release all of those things without the act of forgiveness. Because for a lot of people, forgiveness is a very loaded term. And, for me, forgiveness is a very loaded term. It is often used as a weapon in the church almost, and a way to just bypass really shitty behavior.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. Even and you know, I feel like I don't know. I feel like when I was a Christian, I feel like there were times where I probably wasn't even nice to people.
Mm,
I know there were times where I probably had like the biggest attitude towards people, and I thought that, if I like said, if I like prayed about it or whatever, like I was good, and like that was that. That's how I dealt with it. I don't know if I ever really went to the person that I like offended and dealt with it. I was just like, oh, if I deal with it with me and God, then like it's all good and life goes on. Forgive and forget, right? Cool. No, that's really bad. So
yeah,
yeah, I think at some points in my life there was just some toxicity that came up.
yeah,
And I don't like those parts about myself.
mm,
I'm not as or I am ashamed of those parts.
yeah,
Because I was not always this, good little Christian girl. There were times where I probably was like toxic towards other people. Um, and I don't, I never want to blame the church 100%,
mm,
um, for things that they had a lot, to do with some of my like behaviors. But also, it's another thing I wrestle with. Um, I feel like all this time I did have a choice,
mm,
uh, to make good decisions, but sometimes because of the brainwashing,
mm,
I also feel like I didn't have a choice at the same time. Um, and so I think while some of the behaviors they're not really excusable, I don't know if I knew of any other way to, act towards other people. And I know I've judged people.
Yeah.
Um, oh well, they don't believe in God, so they must be this, and I gotta pray for them. And I'm sure I'm sure I probably did think I was somewhat better than other people, because I was a believer and like they weren't. So I don't know. Not that I had it all together, but it's like, well, I've got God on my side, so like I'm good
Yeah.
over here. Um, you
And I think
know,
that's one of the hardest parts of deconstructing, right? Is sort of looking back and realizing your role in upholding that system of harm that gets done to a whole lot of people,
yeah,
and wrestling with that is tough to sort of go,
yeah,
I actually contributed to some of that.
yeah. And that is that is a hard pill to swallow
Yeah.
because no one wants to look at themselves in the mirror and go, maybe I'm the problem.
Yeah.
Like no one
Like that
wants to do
Taylor
that.
Swift song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
It's so hard to come to that realization that I was part of the problem.
yeah.
Um and I wrestle with that, while you had a choice, like, yeah, but I didn't know I had a choice at the same time.
Yeah. But when you are
Um,
threatened with eternal damnation, is it really a choice?
right? I don't know. Um, yeah, and it also took me a little bit to come to the realization that um hell also most likely doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So I don't have that fear anymore, but I did for the longest time.
Yeah.
Um, I was always very scared of that. And I think the church tries to use that to kind of keep people in line and to keep coming back. The fear of going to hell. And it's a very real fear. It's a real fear. Um, and so when you believe that, it's like, did you have a choice?
Yeah.
And the choice was obviously to keep on choosing Jesus and
Mm-hmm.
try to keep choosing the moral highway, I guess, and make sure you do what the Bible says. So I guess, that's what I thought my choice was. It's either Jesus or go to hell,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of thinking, it doesn't leave room for having a choice. Like I've literally, I remember questioning like right from wrong. Like there were
Mm.
times where I was like, but what if this wrong thing is actually the right way? Or what if the right way is really the wrong way? I don't know. Let me pray about this kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. And so I don't know. It's just I don't ever I don't ever really, or I didn't actually feel like I did have a choice.
Yeah.
Really. I always thought that my personal thoughts and opinions didn't matter and that's sinful and I shouldn't follow my gut feeling. I need to feel what the Holy Spirit's feeling or something and go with that feeling.
Yeah.
That's what I based all my decisions on.
Mm.
Um, and so that was also a time
Yeah.
trying to figure out right from wrong. And, you know, I don't know. I don't ever thought that I could choose something based on what like I was feeling and thinking aside from
Mm.
like God
Yeah.
or Jesus or whoever. And then if anything that came from me, that must have been Satan or like
Mm-hmm.
the devil or something. So yeah, I don't know if you ever really think you have a choice when you feel like there's only really one option.
Yeah.
Because ever since Sunday school, it's like the right answer was always Jesus.
Yeah,
Didn't matter what the
absolutely.
question was, Jesus seemed to be the right answer. So you
Yeah.
just say that. And
Yeah.
so it's like growing up, it's kind of the same thing.
Mm.
It's like you always should pick the Jesus answer, the one
Mhm.
that's the right one. Because if you pick anything else, that's not the right option.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that I thought I really had a choice other than to choose Jesus.
Yeah.
You know? Ugh.
Throughout all of this deconstructing process that I feel like tends to just be an ongoing thing, I don't know that there's ever a destination for that.
Yeah.
What has brought you joy and peace?
Um, that is a great question. Well, because I recently said it, I'd say not believing in a hell anymore
Mm.
has brought me a lot of peace. Um, and I also don't believe that there's a heaven either. I don't know if I'd want to go to heaven. Not saying I'd want to go to hell, but I don't want to go to heaven. Um, so just not believing in those two things has kind of brought me some peace. Being able to I still don't like knowing, or I don't like not knowing what happens after death. I'm not
Mm.
sure. No one can know because you'd have to die and come back, and I know people have life after death experiences, but I personally don't know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. At least not knowing that it's going to be either heaven or hell has brought me some peace. Also being able to find like-minded people has helped bring me some peace as well, because once you leave the church, you don't think you're ever going to make friends ever again
Yeah.
because you lose a good chunk of people. I had already had a lot of people leave my life anyway, just because that's kind of how the cookie crumbled.
Mm.
So I guess that part made it somewhat easy. But I did find myself even getting to know my closest friend, my best friend Hannah. I feel like our friendship has grown because she's still a Christian, but we respect each other's beliefs and ideas, and like we've talked about stuff. So just being able to like talk about things
Mm.
and still respecting each other's beliefs, and kind of questioning together in our own ways has also like brought me peace. Being like, oh my God, she still loves me and accepts me. Yay. Even though I'm completely opposite from what she believes in. And just finding people who still love you and accept you. I think moving has really helped me too in the
Mm.
transition, because I've also kind of in a way gotten to really start over in like a new place. I've gotten to meet new people here and have connected well with some people um who are kind of like on the same wavelength as me. Like they also have religious trauma, so like that brings
Mhm.
us all together. um and it's just cool to find people who are in like the deconstruction community and have kind of like come out of all of that and have formed their own way in life. Like I still have maybe like a couple friends who are Christians and still believe, but they don't force their beliefs onto me, and I really appreciate that. So I guess knowing that you can be friends with other people who don't share the same beliefs.
Yeah.
Because that was something that I thought too growing up. Like, I can only be friends with other believers because if I'm friends with non-believers, they could influence me in a bad way. And so knowing that I can be friends with people who who believe something different than me, and know that just because I'm friends with them, it doesn't mean that, oh my God, that's bad. It's not bad. It's okay. And sharing that mutual respect has also brought me peace as well.
Mm.
And even in my own relationship, He is Norse pagan. So he while he's not a Christian, he kind of believes in like other gods.
Yep.
And I don't know enough about it to sit here and name the things that he believes in, but we can coexist together. I can
Mm.
have my beliefs of agnosticism and just kind of going in a different direction in that way, and he has his beliefs. And like we talk about our beliefs from time to time together, but we don't push it on each other. Like just the idea of being equally yoked. You don't
Yes.
have to be.
Yeah.
You can be in a relationship or married or whatever, and you can believe different things but still have like a functioning relationship, and like that's okay. And like that has been like a really big thing for me, because
Yeah.
growing up I thought that when I started like dating people, I thought, well, as long as they're a Christian too, then it'll be fine, as long as they have similar beliefs as I do, it should be okay. Like it's okay to have feelings for them or whatever.
Yeah.
And that has also been like a huge like shift for me. But I've enjoyed it. Like I enjoy having that.
Yeah. Yeah.
um so that's been a huge thing for me. um so yeah, I think that's where I find the comfort, just having those relationships still, because I mean I like people. I mean, sometimes I don't, but sometimes I'm like, I need to be around my people.
Yeah.
And go out, for coffee or something. Um, I enjoy, having that community still, and having, safe spaces to like talk about things, because I feel like there were just some topics that were just completely off the table when I was
Yeah.
a Christian, like sex,
Mm.
anything to do with like, your reproductive system and your whole body, really. Um, and what else? I don't know. And anything having to do with those topics, really, where I
Yeah.
just felt like it was like off the table or like a hush hush kind of a thing.
Mm.
And now I'm in circles of people where like it's okay to talk about that stuff,
Mm.
um, and like learn together. And it's okay to like, look up like how does this work? Like how does my nervous system work?
Mm.
All these things, and just knowing that it's okay to like explore your own body in like a safe environment, like no one's actually watching you.
Yeah.
It's like when you're in your home exploring, like it's just you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like free to do that because like it's my body.
Absolutely.
um
Yeah.
and it's mine. I
Yeah.
don't need permission from, you know the great unknown, if to like touch myself. I don't need that consent or whatever. I can like choose to give myself that love and just like that touch that I've like for so long did not do. And
Yeah.
that's insane to me.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
was like old enough, to understand that that was just something that you just didn't do, like masturbating. Like,
Yeah.
no, don't do that. And it's actually healthy
Yeah.
to do. It's normal. And I was taught that it wasn't normal. And
Mhm.
so that's another thing.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's normal actually kind of gives me comfort. And it's taken me a while to get to that point too. Um, I think there was like some Netflix special, and I can't remember the title of it, but I think it talked about like different toys you can use on yourself and like the human body. I think it was specifically geared towards women. I really wish I could remember the name of it because it was so good, but it had a lot of good information, and it kind of helped me understand my body a little bit more. And it's taken me a while to get to the point of feeling comfortable with like pleasure
Mm.
and giving that time to yourself when, you feel like you like need it or you just want to for whatever reason. Um, yeah, that's taken me a while because I think in my current relationship there was just a lot I didn't even understand about my own body.
Yeah.
And luckily, he like knew what he was doing. But like this whole time, ever since I started exploring like sex, I didn't really know what I was doing. I
Yeah.
thought I knew, but I didn't because I didn't really understand how my own body worked. And so being able to have that feel like I have that freedom now
Mm.
to actually like explore myself and get to know myself has brought me peace. Feeling like I can actually, do these things to help myself
Yeah.
in different ways has just been really comforting because once you get over that feeling of no one's actually watching you, you
Mm.
can really just be at peace and like enjoy the moment. Because even when I was in or when I was coming out of Christianity and I was just like in the shower or whatever, I still, even though I knew that I wasn't really being watched, I still felt like I was. And that I was like, oh my God, I know there's no, spirit or ghost or whatever just sitting here staring at me while I'm in the shower. But it's like my body still like felt like I was being watched
Yeah.
by some higher power or whatever. It was so weird. Um so but I think I've gotten away from those feelings. It still comes up from time to time. I still kind of feel like I don't know if I should be doing this or not. I don't know. But I do it because I want to become comfortable
Yeah.
with the normal and knowing that my body is like not sinful, um and that it we have like needs and wants as desires as humans, and like that doesn't they're not bad.
Yeah.
So I think kind of working through those things and being okay with that has also brought me a lot of peace too. um
Okay. Last question.
okay.
What would you say, what message would you have for somebody who is fresh out of church, fresh into their deconstruction journey? They are in the thick of it. What would you want to tell them?
No pressure, right? Oh man. Well, I first would want to give them a hug because I'm a hugger and I don't, I know not everyone is, but I just feel like in that time you do need a hug or you need someone just to be there. Um, ah, as far as advice goes, there's so many things I want to say, but like I know it would not really be good for the person who's just fresh out of it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, with words it's hard. It's really hard. Because I'm like, oh, I would just want to be there. But as
Mm.
far as like advice, I don't want to say go with your gut because you also have to learn about that too. You have to get away from the Holy Spirit feeling and you have to really get to know yourself again. I don't want to say do what feels right either, because you know, ah, maybe maybe just to take your time.
Mm.
Don't rush the process. Um, you don't have to do it all in one day either. Um, and don't be afraid to ask questions that you're afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Um, I never want to tell another person like what to do with their life because it's their life.
Mm.
Um, but I would just say to really take your time and to try to extend yourself. I have mixed feelings about the word grace, but I don't know what other word to use. But go easy on yourself if you can. And if for some reason at some point in time you want to believe in God again, or you want to go back to Christianity, like that's okay. There's you can do whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, make sure that it's what you want to do, and not because of what someone else believes is the right way. Um, just to whatever path you end up at, I guess just stick with it. Because I know that I've seen a lot of maybe at least two people that come to mind kind of have pretty some like shifts in their life. Like they're like, you know what, I think I'm done with the deconstruction. I'm gonna move on and talk about this topic now, which is great for them. So I know like people like are always constantly changing and going through all that. So even if you end up on like a certain path and it's working for you, and you want to stay there, you can stay there for as long as you want until you feel like you've come to the end of that path. And if there's something that you haven't explored yet, you can go in that direction. And then it's like it's okay to keep trying different paths and trying different things until you find that path that ultimately works for you in your life. Not because you know the president says so, or pastor says so, or whatever. It's because it finally feels good to you. So I guess that's what I would say.
I love that. I think the power of informed choice is a really great place to end on. I love that, because I think it is one of the things that you do feel like gets taken away from you. So it's empowering when you can make your own choices. Equally terrifying at times, but also empowering. But I think that's really
definitely is
a great sort of ending note for people.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me.
It's been a time. I loved being here and getting to like share some of my story with you and whoever else is listening. So thank you for reaching out. I really appreciate it. Like meant a lot. So thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Surface. Until next time, take care, stay true to who you are, and remember, your voice and your story matters, always.